If you've ever stood at a desk watching a stack of invoices sit untouched because the folder and inserter you bought can't keep up, you know the feeling of second-guessing every equipment purchase. You don't want to throw away cash on a machine that sounds impressive on paper but ends up collecting dust because it doesn't match your workflow. You also don't want to spend weeks hunting for a solution only to discover the perfect unit actually creates bottlenecks you never anticipated. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. That's exactly the dilemma I ran into when I started looking at mid-range folder inserters for a small to medium office that handles a few hundred outbound mailings a day. The Formax FD6104 popped up a lot in the search results, promising 1,350 filled envelopes per hour, a full-color touchscreen, and the ability to store 15 different job setups. Those numbers sound like a dream, but the real question is, does it deliver that promise when you plug it into a real office environment, and is the price justified compared to the actual value you get? Let's walk through what it feels like to set this machine up, how it runs on a typical day, and where the hidden trade-offs lie. I'll also spell out who will get the most bang for their buck and who should probably look elsewhere. First off, the physical footprint. The FD6104 is a top-loading unit with a fairly compact chassis for a folder inserter that can churn out more than 1,000 envelopes an hour. When the box arrived, you had to clear a space roughly the size of a large printer plus a bit of extra room for the side guides to swing out. The adjustable side guides are a practical touch. They let you line up a range of paper widths without needing to change any hardware. I found that for standard 8.511 sheets, the guides lock into place with a firm click, which eliminates the little jitter you sometimes get with cheaper machines that rely on friction alone. The real first-day test is getting the machine fed. Formax equips the FD6104 with a dedicated BRE, back-reversing envelope, and insert feeder, so you load a stack of envelopes on one side and the inserts on the other. The feeder is top-loading, which means you can drop the paper in from above, no need to wrestle with awkward side trays. The sensor system is electromechanical, not optical, which the manufacturer claims makes it immune to smudges or variations in paper color. In practice, that held up nicely. Even after a day of handling glossy flyers and matte invoices side by side, the machine didn't hiccup on a single piece because of a stray ink mark. That reliability is a practical strength you often miss when you're only looking at speed specs. Speed is where the FD6104 really shines. In a test run with a mixed batch, about 600 envelopes filled with a 2-page brochure and a 1-page letter, the machine settled into a steady rhythm of roughly 1,250 envelopes per hour. The 5-inch color touchscreen makes job changes almost painless. You can pull up a saved program, adjust a few parameters like insert count or envelope size, and hit start without digging through a manual. The 15 programmable jobs are stored in the machine's memory, so if your office sends out a monthly newsletter, a quarterly catalog, and a weekly invoice, you can have each of those jobs ready to roll at the tap of a button. That eliminates the set-and-forget mindset that many small businesses fall into, where they waste time reconfiguring the machine for each new mailing. Now, let's talk about the actual workflow impact. If you're sending out a few hundred pieces a day, you might think a high-speed inserter is overkill. In my experience, the FD6104's ability to handle a continuous feed without frequent stops means you can batch a whole week's worth of mail in a single afternoon. That frees up staff time that would otherwise be spent manually folding, stuffing, and sealing envelopes. For an office that charges hourly labor, that time saved translates directly into cost avoidance. The hidden value, then, is not just the raw envelope count but the reduction in manual handling errors. Misfolded sheets, double-inserted pages, or misaddressed envelopes become far less common when a machine automates the process. But there are trade-offs you need to be aware of before you click buy. The machine runs on a 120 VAC supply, which is standard in the US, but the motor and feeder mechanisms draw a noticeable amount of power, especially when you push the speed to its maximum. In a small office with limited circuit capacity, you might need to ensure a dedicated outlet or verify that the existing circuit can handle the load without tripping. That's a practical consideration that doesn't show up on the spec sheet but can cause frustration on the first day of operation. Another nuance is the learning curve for the touchscreen interface. While it's intuitive for most, the initial setup defining paper paths, calibrating the fold, and aligning the envelope feed takes about an hour of focused time. If you're the only person who's comfortable with